From the headquarters of Fight Back Media, The Morning Report, with your host, Willie Lawson. Good morning, and welcome to The Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. I trust that you are well this glorious Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Yesterday, good day. Last night we did a video with my ride or die here at Fight Back Media, Paul Swanson, and actually off camera we heard Penny Swanson, his wife, make some incredibly salient points about a lot of stuff. So it's a video worth watching. It is on the website. It's on fightbackmedia.com. Website is on Fight Back Media TV. It's on YouTube. It's on Rumble. Yeah, you need to check it out. It's about exposing the inflation. I have trouble saying it because it's such a lie. The Inflation Reduction Act, and what it's really in it, and what they are proposing for us. I mean, it's just a wish list of leftist things. It's their Christmas wish list. The stuff they want to get in and get going before they lose the House and possibly the Senate in the election coming up in just 49 days. So yeah, that's what that is. Joe Manchin, dude, you got had, you got rooked, you got taken, and it may mean the end of your political career. You've got grandkids, it's fine, you'll be okay. You've got a little money in the bank, no doubt, you'll be okay. You had a good run. You may survive this cycle, but there's very little chance that you'll survive politically the next cycle. So make the best of it. Do the best thing you can for the citizens of West Virginia. That's what I'm saying. There you go. All right. Again, thank you for coming to the program today. It's kind of tough week. You guys probably already heard that my friend Eddie Adams Jr. passed away last week, and his wake his viewing is Friday, and the funeral is Saturday. You know, Eddie was 68 years old when he passed away, and had just done a show on the radio on WTMP that Saturday before he passed away. So the time is short. We never know. So we're all as friends and colleagues walking through this together. And I'm gonna tell you, it ain't easy. So that's a little bit why I have not been as consistent the past few days as we have been. Let us walk through this a little bit. If you would give us grace through this time, that would be that'd be very nice. Our prayers go out to Sylvia, his wife, and his children, and his siblings through this time. And it's never easy. It doesn't matter if somebody dies suddenly, like Eddie did, or someone is in the hospital for I don't know, a year or two, like our friend DeJuan Washington. It's always hard when it happens. It's tough. So anyway, that's kind of what's been going on. So again, make sure you check out the video that's on the website, and it's here on YouTube as well. And we're gonna take a little break. We'll be back with more of the program right after these messages. All righty, we are back. Thank you ever so much. We appreciate you being here today. Let's get on with the stories. The stories are the thing. Just gotta tell you, the stories are the thing today. And it just gets weirder and weirder and more bizarre. But these are the times that we're living in. The biggest story right now is of course still the left is still stinging from my governor Ron DeSantis sending 50, not 500, not 5,000, not 500,000, but 50 illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard. because what that did was that tweaked their nose, grabbed their nose, tweaked their nose, and exposed the hypocrisy of the elite, who had signs up that we welcome everybody, and well, except for y'all. We can't handle y'all. Humanitarian crisis. We don't know what to do. We're not set up for this. Hair on fire. It was genius for Ron DeSantis to expose them that way, and they are not happy. As a matter of fact, they're going after Governor DeSantis to see if he even had the right in the budget, in the Florida state budget, to do such a thing. Now, I'm not sure what they're going to do. There is a Texas sheriff, but I'm not sure how they're doing that either. That is in that announced an investigation. There's, again, what do we always tell you here on Fight Back Media? The left will always tell you, they always will, they can't help it, who they're afraid of and what they're afraid of. They will always tell you who they're afraid of. And they will go after them with everything they have. To the point, there are, and we're going to get into this story about Martha's Vineyard. There are points now that there are people in opinion polls who are saying that Ron DeSantis is worse than Donald Trump, because Donald Trump had a soft edge. Somebody actually tweeted, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, that Ron DeSantis would murder his political enemies. And then, and he prefaced all that by saying, "This is not hyperbole." So that means you really believe that Ron DeSantis would murder somebody? And yeah, dude, that better be hyperbole. That better not be what you think is fact, or that's slander, right? Right. Anyway, this story here, a Florida official basically said that migrants who were flown to Martha's Vineyard were homeless and hungry at the border. Florida officials pushed back against criticisms levied against the state's program to relocate processed and released migrants. Now, these were people, I mean, they weren't scooping, them up in a bucket by helicopter at the border. These folks were processed and already released at the border. Many of the group were homeless with nowhere to go. They didn't have anywhere to go. The majority, if not all, the immigrants that originated in Texas and ended up on flights to Martha's Vineyard were indeed homeless, hungry, and sleeping outside in parking lots, and did not have a place to go, and essentially were wandering homeless at the border, a Florida official said in a background call with reporters on Monday. Migrants who accepted the flight to Martha's Vineyard were provided with shelter for a day or two, meals, showers. You had a place to live for a couple of days. You got some food, got cleaned up. They were given every opportunity over a number of days to decide if they didn't want to go on the trip and to go a different direction. Indeed, some of the individuals, after a night or two of accommodation, chose to stay behind and not go on the trip. Some people who could have gone decided, nah, I don't want to go. Okay, nobody was forced on. Nobody was kidnapped. Nobody was, nobody. I mean, they weren't in handcuffs on the way to Martha's Vineyard. Officials stressed, noting that the flight were given bags with food and water. So they had food on the plane. Okay. The official added, at no specific time was anybody promised of getting a specific job. And the official said that the program informed the migrants they would be taken and where they would be taken and the resources available to them in the state of Massachusetts. But where did they get note of these resources? From a brochure printed by the state of Massachusetts. The brochure contains information directly from the Massachusetts government website. What? Yes. That's where it came from. So they were provided that information. So they were basically taken to somewhere that said, hey, we will be happy, thrilled to help you. That's where they were taken. Oh, it's fun. It's fun, right? Democrats and progressives, the left, Jeff Julian, have accused Florida Governor Ron DeSantis of human trafficking and or kidnapping for migrants for a political stunt. Now, I'm going to sit here. I can't not tell you that it wasn't some sort of stunt. In a way, it was. But it was one of those things that I'm going to have to be okay with because it had to be done. The exposure of the left is extremely important, and Ron DeSantis knows that. To call them on their bluff had to be done. Border towns are having a hard time getting up with the continued keeping up with the continued influx of illegal border crossers as shelters are often at capacity. Texas Governor Greg Abbott started the busing of migrants to sanctuary cities in an effort to relieve pressure from the smaller border towns. So if you've got a town on the border that isn't nearly as big as or has the resources of a place like New York or DC or Chicago, and these people or San Francisco, and these folks in these cities and these municipalities have already said that they are a sanctuary city. Yeah, they said they're a sanctuary city without actually having to be one. Immigrants are more willing to leave Bexar County after being enticed across the border and to fend for themselves. Florida provided an opportunity and in a sanctuary state with resources as expected, unlike the 53 who died in an abandoned truck in the Bexar County in June. DeSantis Communications Director Taryn Finsky said in a statement. So why is the left mad at Ron DeSantis? Because he exposed them. That's why. That's it. They don't give a rip about those 50 people. Let's not get it twisted. They don't care at all about those 50 people. They're mad because Ron DeSantis had the guts to pull the stunt that embarrassed them. He could have just sent another busload to to New York, nameless, faceless New York. But that wasn't, because realistically, it just wasn't getting the point across. This Martha's Vineyard, the Obamas have a home there. Martha's Vineyard, you got to be a millionaire plus to live on the island, right? There's no regular $250,000 homes on Martha's Vineyard where people are living, and taking their kid to soccer practice and holding a regular job, doing a 9 to 5. It's a nice place where people who have a lot of money can go and get away from the rest of us. Let's just say it like that. It's where a lot of rich elitists can go, where it's really nice. They've created this enclave where they can get away from the rest of us, the great unwashed, the pedestrian. That's what a place. And you know what? And I ain't mad about it. I'm not mad or jealous about it. I'm not at all. It's fine. It's been there for years. The Kennedys had a place there. They had Hyannisport. The Bushes had a place like that where they could get away from the rest of us. That's fine. Fine. So they can be amongst people like them. They can be amongst people like themselves. Not like Willie and Debbie or or Paul and Penny. Uh, Not like Jose and Maria. Oh no, 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 no. Barack and Michelle, you may enter. The rest of us, Raul, Maria, Debbie, Willie, Paul, Penny, I'm afraid uh, we can't have you on the island. We don't have any resources for your type. And you're creating a human, a humanitarian crisis on the island. Let's get let us get you a bus and get you somewhere where they can deal with people like you. Martha's Vineyard was exposed. The left was exposed, and they don't like it. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. and all those people on the left are again running to the defense of the elitists because they are wannabes too, and they don't have anywhere else to be at this point, because they too see the hypocrisy of the uber rich. Now, this is the same uber rich that people like Bernie Sanders say are the top 1% of the 10, the top 10% of the 1%, right? That's the same. It's the same people. It's the same people. It's not the Willie and Debbie's. It's not it's not the DeSantis family that is, in the top, 1% of the 10, top 10% of the 1%. No. It's the people who get to live or vacation, have their summer home at Martha's Vineyard. This is the same people that they hate, but they ran to their defense. We talked a little bit ago, a few minutes ago, about the takes that now Ron DeSantis, is worse than Trump. And we kind of knew it was coming. Now, we've said here, at Fight Back Media, that in a way, for the left, they're correct. Ron DeSantis is, I think, smarter, more savvy politically than Donald Trump. He does not have the baggage that Trump has. Again, young fella, looks good. Wife just kicked cancer's ass. She's beautiful. We don't have to say that she was beautiful, that she was a supermodel. Woman is beautiful now, doing a heck of a job, helping in the campaign. The kids are right out of central casting. Holy crap. And he has really honed in on the voice of a lot of people here in the state of Florida. And is willing to do stuff and say stuff. And doesn't keep people around him that he has to make excuses for. So the midterm elections are about 49 days away. And then it's off to the races for the White House in 2024. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis could be a serious contender in the presidential contest, which is why members of the media and leftist activists are already jumping to categorize him as worse than Donald Trump. In an opinion piece tweeted from the New York Times, Ron DeSantis may be a more competent Trump in terms of his ability to use levers of state to amass power. They say these things in a way because it isn't amassing power. It is actually because they disagree with him. Not amassing power, taking power away from those people who have been amassing power for 50 years, yes. But he's also meaner and more rigid. Maybe. without the soft edges and eccentricity of the actual Donald Trump. Trump's kind of funny, right? Trump is kind of he's got that granddad vibe to him. Ron DeSantis does not. The author continues. Remember I said how he tries to preface this to soften the blow? BS. Steve Schmidt is the author's name. He said, I'm going to say something. There is no hyperbole attached to it. I mean it, every word. Anyone who thinks Ron DeSantis wouldn't kill his political opponents given the chance doesn't understand who he is. He just proved it. The refusal to see that is stupid, reckless, stupid. The DeSantis Martha's Vineyard stunt was a capricious act of cruelty built on a mountain of dehumanization. Holy moly. It was an appalling act that will demonstrate the exact opposite of what DeSantis and his thugs intend. It will provide an exposition on American kindness as real. Okay. Now, we just explained for real what happened. There were people human beings, processed and released, who were homeless, wandering around, sleeping in parking lots. Ron DeSantis, the state of Florida, said, hey, listen, why don't we give you guys a place to stay, get cleaned up, get some food, make sure that everybody's okay, and maybe we can take you to a place that says that they'll take care of you. Okay? So as that time period went on, if you don't want to go, just tell us you don't want to go, and you don't have to go. It's fine. It's fine. So some folks said, about 50 of them said, yeah, let's go, let's roll. So they gave them bags, some food, some water, put them on a plane. Probably not like the plane behind me in the video. That's a Cessna Citation CJ4. If you look at that tail number, that's November 060 Whiskey Lima, my fantasy tail number. In any case, and flew them to Martha's Vineyard, a beautiful place. He didn't drop them off in some crappy neighborhood in DC and tell them to fend for themselves. He didn't drop them off in Oakland, California, in East St. Louis, some damn where. He didn't drop them off in Liberty City and say, fend for yourself. Some drug-infested, crime-ridden area. It's not what happened. They got flown in a private charter to one of the nicest places in America, where purportedly the American dream is real. That's where they got flown to. And in a place that said, hey, listen, we love everybody. Bring them. Migrants, blacks, women, T-boys, all of it, right? So they were taken there. The information that was given to these folks, these good people, was information from the Massachusetts government website to give them information on making this decision. So this hyperbole, this BS about a mountain of dehumanization, please. People come together and repudiate DeSantis' malicious cruelty. What? And help abuse people in need. DeSantis is a canker on the soul of this country. Voting is the penicillin necessary to rid ourselves of this Tallahassee infection. Vote him out. He is a vicious man in America, and he is a vicious man and in American, and he goes on, Anyway, he goes on and on about how what a bad guy Ron DeSantis is. They don't like him because he exposed them. Now, this author of this opinion piece, Steve Schmidt, knows that. So what he has to do is he has to come hard. He has to come hard because that's his job. He's a pit bull. He was released. The only problem is that he's wrong. And a lot of people that weren't concerned one way or the other, they see it too. The people who, who lives in Martha's Vineyard, and the kind of people who live there, and the kind of place that Massachusetts is, they know. And this is what a lot of the elitists was hoping against all hope that we wouldn't know. Thank you, Governor DeSantis. All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be back with more of the program right after these messages. Well, again, thank you ever so much for spending some time with us this morning. It is, hang on. God, thank you for spending some time with us this morning. My name is Willie Lawson. This is the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. Again, we are thrilled that you could be here with us today. In the last video that we put up on YouTube, I think that we mentioned briefly the president's remarks on COVID, and it immediately, upon putting it up here on YouTube, got a it wasn't a strike, it wasn't a notice, but it had a little tag talking about COVID-19. And I'm guessing because I had mentioned COVID-19 by just saying the words COVID-19, that will spark the same thing. All I said was COVID-19. That's all I said. The president had his remarks on his 60-minute interview about COVID-19 that you ought to investigate. I think that you ought to look into it. It's out there. You can find a lot of it on Rumble, BitChute, Twitter. Check it out. We'd love to hear at fightbackmedia@gmail.com what you think about what the president said about the COVID-19 pandemic. We'd love to hear what you say. And you can even write down, once you hear about it, write down in the comments what you think about it. A lot of people are upset. A lot of people are still upset about his comments. So I'm curious as to what you think about what the president of the United States said about the pandemic. That's, again, love to hear what you say. And now I am curious on how YouTube is going to handle this, saying that all I did was mention that the president had a comment on 60 Minutes, a CBS national broadcast about the pandemic, and while we were in the pandemic. And I'm just asking you what you thought about it. That's all. All right. We've been talking about my governor. My governor is facing an ex-governor of the state of Florida, who was then a Republican, Charlie Crist. Charlie Crist is known by a lot of things here in the state of Florida. Most of them aren't nice. Most of them are not nice, not at all. I think even in Democrat circles, Charlie Crist isn't looked at as a nice guy. He is not looked at like he believes he's looked at, as this endearing, lovely, wonderful person. That is not how he is perceived by most of the people that I know on either side of the political, aisle, whatever political station they're in. They just don't look at Charlie Crist like, oh, he is so nice. They look at him like, that dude is a snake. That dude is a weasel. My friend Tim Horton basically said, don't vote for this guy because he's a weasel. He was a weasel when he was a Republican. He was a weasel the 15 minutes he was an independent. He's a weasel now. Take an anti-weasel pledge. Don't vote for any more weasels. Weasel. What a great word, weasel. Weasel. It sounds exactly like you think it. When you think of someone being a weasel, you go, oh, yeah. And there's Charlie Crist's picture in the dictionary under weasel. Yes. So he gave Democrats, they think, a better shot at retaking Florida's governor's mansion, but he probably will still lose. Charlie Crist is looking to reclaim his former job, but this time as a Democrat, since he defected and changed parties in 2012. He claims it was over his hug with then President Barack Obama in 2009. It might be more grounded in that Marco Rubio throttled him in the U.S. Senate race the following year. Whatever the case, Crist is channeling full sin mode on some of the worst ideas floated this cycle. His team must see the polls and know that he has no chance of defeating incumbent Republican Ron DeSantis, which explains how he likened himself to the Lord Savior Jesus Christ. He also referred to Governor DeSantis as the Satan. What a pithy swipe. Is there any operative that would think this would sell the voters? Besides DeSantis being popular, it's perilous to compare yourself to Jesus Christ when you're decidedly not. And Charlie Crist is the furthest thing from anything relating to Nazareth. He's also told potential DeSantis defectors if there were any that he didn't want their vote. He said DeSantis was on the battlefield of hate. Crist is a hardcore soldier on the battlefield of love. Oh, he's a Florida love machine. He's just a love machine. Well, kind of. That'll come out later. Those who support DeSantis should stay with him and vote for him. I don't want your vote. If you have hate in your heart, keep it there, he says. Really? Are you serious? Crist declaring himself the new Jesus and having his version of a deplorables moment, that represents 2 strikes against him at home plate. Will he strike out? Yeah, probably. And he did so by getting behind vaccine passports. He wants nothing to do with Floridians who, like the current governor, of which there are millions, he's on the verge of starting his own cult and now takes it into a creepy town by endorsing a policy where Americans must present papers to be outside. He was asked, should we have vaccine passports? And he said, we should have vaccine passports. I think that's important. This is Florida, by the way, y'all. Florida's like, excuse me, have you met me? Excuse me, I'm Florida. Excuse me. Hey, Charlie, have you met me? It's incredible. Not even the Europeans are supporting that anymore. It can't get any worse for him. He tried to explain how sending migrants to a posh, cozy New England town like Martha's Vineyard was cruel and unnecessary because they all have to jump on the same thing. They all have to be on the same page. What Charlie Crist is, being a weasel and a chameleon, is that he's very adept at that. He's a good politician. He's adept at that. Here's what he said on this is on being migrants being sent to Martha's Vineyard. This is so cruel and so unnecessary. It shocks the conscience of any fair-minded human being that the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, would treat other human beings, these Venezuelans, the way he did by sending them to one of the nicest places in the country. And again, didn't drop them off in Liberty City, didn't drop them off in Belmont Height here, didn't drop them off in, you know what, in some crime-ridden, drug-infested place in DC or Chicago or Oakland or East St. Louis. Martha's Vineyard. Look it up. My name is Will Lawson. This has been the Morning Report. Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We'll see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.